So I just got this new job with this online auction company, and now my boss Christine is giving me all this work in Excel where she wants to analyze all of the online auctions in all kinds of different ways and shuffle the data here and show some of it and don't show some of it and create all different reports based on different buyers and sales and shipping, and I don't even know where to start with this. Someone told me there's something called a pivot table that could help me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got all this data here for online auction sales, and it shows me the different buyers by code. It shows how they bought something. It shows the quantity that they bought, the unit price, the shipping, and then the total price. So my boss is asking me to show this data in all different kinds of ways. They want to see it just by buyer and total, or just by buyer and how they bought it. And I don't know, am I going to keep doing this chart over and over again, this table, and, kind of mix it up, delete stuff? But I found out from the Excel expert that there is an easy way to do this, and that's by using a pivot table. So let me see if I select all the data and then just go to Insert Pivot Table, you can see it knows the data here. I'm going to put it on the same worksheet here, and I'll put it in the range starting in 02. Okay, so let's do that. So we get our pivot table field list, and basically it's all of this header row here. And then we have these different categories: filter, columns, rows, and values. So now I can position any of these, or all of them, in any of these, or all of them, to show the data or pivot it in different ways. So let's take a look at a simple kind of approach here. I'm going to take the buyer and put them in the columns. Okay, so right away I get all of the different buyers in the columns here. Okay, by default it added the count of the buyer, but I can also say I want to just see the totals that, so right away now I see each buyer and their sum of their total. Okay, let's say I want to change this around a little bit. Maybe I want to put the buyers in the rows. Okay, look at that. Just pivoted to put the buyers in the rows. And now sum of total I'm just going to pull out of here. And let's do shipping. Why not? We'll do the shipping costs. And there it is. Now I can see all of the shipping there. I don't want to see shipping. I want to see something else. Maybe I want to see what the service charge was for each one. There it is. So it's very easy to pivot the data just by using these filters and these headers here from the table. I can represent the data in all different ways. I can also make a pivot chart then that will also allow me to graphically represent the data in many different ways. So pivot tables are a really powerful tool to kind of analyze and sort through the data and report it in different ways. Hey, now with your knowledge of pivot tables, maybe you could help me out.
Just give you a little background here. Christine has a small business called Deal Depot that buys and sells items using online auction sites. She's using Excel to analyze her sales and asks you to help creating pivot tables and pivot charts to provide an overview of her buyers, her sales, and her pricing. Okay, so let's go to the sales worksheet. Now, this is the heart of the whole project here. So basically, this is an Excel data sheet. It's not in table format, but it's good if it is in table format. That's the ultimate way. It'll work fine with this. What you don't want to have is any blank rows. You notice there's no blank rows. Everything is complete. You can see various field headings here, the buyer, how they bought something. The buyer is weird. It's just like these weird kind of code numbers. How they bought something. Some bought through auction, some bought direct, special, offer. Then they have sales ID, a date, okay? Item categories, collectibles, entertainment, sporting goods and technology, home decor, toys. I think those are the, and you'll notice there's a lot of repeat ones, right? So if you look over here, B1 is a customer, and yeah, they're down here too, B1. So when we pivot, we could just see like just B1, or we could just see auction. We can like kind of narrow all these things down in the pivot. So it's good to understand what the data source is, quantity, price, shipping, and total amounts. And you can see there's something missing over here. we're going to fill in later. Good. So there's the data. So the first thing they want you to do is add another record. And the reason why we're doing this is because you're going to see the refresh feature later. So we're going to add a record that, was not going to be in any of these, but when we refresh it, you'll see that record get added. So let's add the record here. And remember, to add a record to a table, you just have to kind of hover at the row or column directly below or to the right. And then the buyer here is going to be B1 again, 11, and then hit tab. The offer is auction. And you'll notice as I start typing it, it automatically fills it in, so you can hit tab right away. The sales ID is 3701. The date is December 19th, 2021. The item is technology. Again, just type a T. Well, there's two T's there, so we got to make a choice. Don't go down, right? Go back here. The quantity in this case is 1. The price was $95. The percentage was 3%. And yeah, we have the 97.85 already there. Okay, so we added that record. Remember, the whole thing about that is that you'll see this come up later when we refresh the table. Okay, 4 pages of assignment. We already finished page 1. All right, so the next scenario here is Christine wants to create a separate table displaying the types of products each buyer purchased and the total price. Okay, so I'm going to just show you something before we actually do the assignment here. And I just want to show you kind of the power of a pivot table real quick. We'll just take a look at a couple of quick things here. So what I'm going to do is make sure I'm in the table, the data here, and then go to Insert. On the PC, they usually have all these recommendations. For some reason on the Mac, again, we're wearing crutches kind of. When you click recommended, you just get one table that it recommends. So I always think, at least on the Mac, it's always better to just use the blank pivot table and specify exactly what you want. So here's the blank pivot table. It knows that the data is called sales. Okay, we're in this, you notice the marquee is around the whole thing here. And then we have the choice of a new worksheet, which is what they want. But for now, I'm just going to do it on this existing worksheet. And I think N1 looks like a good place to place it for now. Good, makes sense, everybody? So there it is. Okay, so here is the actual, what they call the pivot table. Right now it looks kind of blank. What's the question?
Should we be doing it on a new worksheet, or should we do it like you're doing it? Because on the instructions.
Well, this is only demo, so stop. If you're following along, just stop and watch for a second.
Okay.
So this is not related to the project. I just wanted to give you guys a peek. It's part of really more of the lecture. Okay, so let me just show you how this works. So you'll notice that when I clicked on that now, I have the blank pivot table, which is the report, right, that we're going to build. And then we get this pivot table fields box, and here's the filters, columns, rows, and values. You'll notice that all of these field names at the top here are represented here. Okay, so we have all those field names are there. And we can populate these 4 areas of the pivot table with any of these and then move them around in different ways. So what did she want to do in the first one? She wanted to see the buyers. So watch what happens here. I'm going to take the buyers and put them in rows. Okay, so right away you get all of the buyers, and there they are in the rows. Okay, so here's the buyers over here. You notice they're not duplicated. Here we have duplications. But here we just have from whatever it is 1 to 14 as far as the buyers. And then we're going to put the item, which is the item category, right, which would be these guys, right, into the columns. Okay, so let's do that. And then there you go. You have collectibles, entertainment, right? So you can see, I think this is a helpful way to understand it if you think, it's kind of weird pivot tables, to kind of dissect it and look at it step by step. Okay, so we got the item category here, and then what we're going to do is put the totals into the values area. So this is really the numbers, the kind of number crunching. So you see when I put that in, then I get these values here. So if you look at, say, buyer 10, right? Buyer 10, we only have 468 in sporting goods. And sure enough, if we look at the table over here, we can scan through it and find buyer 10, and there it is. Sporting goods, they bought 2 items, whatever, 468, so everything is accurate, right? Buyer 1, you notice, bought multiple things, right? They bought home decor, collectibles, and technology. So they should appear 3 times. Remember, we typed them in over here, buyer 1, they're here a couple of times. Okay, so you see how it extracts the data like that? So now, I mean, you could fool around with this. If you wanted to, you could just grab this item category and you could drag it here. Watch what happens. Okay, so now we have the buyer on top. See, it's like a hierarchy, and then the categories underneath. So you can see buyer 1 and then what they bought in each category, and you could change that. Maybe you want to go by category, so bring the buyer down. And now we do the categories first. Okay, so this is what we call pivoting. Right? We're pivoting the table around to look at it in different ways. It's very simple, actually, right? It's actually not that complicated once you realize how, you know, these kind of controls work. Okay, so let's, if you want, you know, you can obviously do other things with it. You can even bring in other items. You can fill up all these things, and it'll continue to get more complicated, you know, different, whatever. So I'm just going to get rid of this now. And the way I'm going to get rid of it is to use the move control. And I'm just going to move it to a new worksheet and then delete that worksheet. I found that that was the easiest way to do it. So here's our new worksheet. To delete it, I'm just going to do control, click, and delete. Okay, so we're back to our original table again. And now you can pick up the action if you want to follow along. So step 2 then says that Christine wants a pivot table displaying the products and the buyer and the price. So pretty much we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to do it the way the instructions were. So I'm going to do insert, pivot table. Okay, so it's going to be sales, but this time we're going to put it on a new worksheet. Okay, so new worksheet, and here's the new worksheet, and right away they tell you to rename the worksheet sales category pivot. So to rename it, again, you can right click or control click, pop-up menu, rename, sales category pivot. Yes.
Professor, for the table, did you just type in sales or you have to actually drag it and select it?
For the table, the original table, I just need to be in the table. So in other words, I just need to have my, you know, my cursor selecting any cell in the table to make it active. You can actually, you know, click and drag it, it'll still work. But I think it just works as long as you are in the data. It'll know that the whole thing is sales.
And then we keep it on existing worksheet?
No, you're going to make a new worksheet.
Okay.
New worksheet, and you're going to name that new worksheet sales category pivot.
Okay, thank you.
So at this point, this is what it should look like. It's a blank pivot table, right? It knows the headings. There's all the headings there in the field names. This is the blank report, and then you have the various areas here that you can drop stuff into. Okay, you'll notice that here's the analyze, PTA I call this, for pivot table analyze, and design tabs. Those are the new tabs that appear. And you've got things that you can do, obviously, to manipulate. And here's things that you can do as far as the look of it in design. So first off, we're going to follow directions and understand why we're following these directions. Remember, she wants a table displaying the products each buyer purchased and the total price. So add the buyer field to the rows area. So all you've got to do is click and drag it to rows. And again, you'll see exactly what we did in the demo there. We'll see a table appear with just the rows populated by the various buyer codes, buyer 1, buyer, whatever it is. They're all B1, but then it's a second number. Okay, the next thing is to take the item category into columns. So here's our friend, the item category, and it goes into the columns. And bingo,
Professor?
here we go. Yes.
I have a question. So on mine, when I select buyer, it only says count of buyers.
Did you
and
try to
then
drag it to rows? Did you drag it to the rows section of the field?
Oh, so am I dragging that cell to the row?
Not that cell. Are you looking at my screen right now? You see my screen, right? Go back
Now I'm
to,
looking at your screen.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is make sure, see over here, you don't want to drag this one that says buyers or anything, right? You want to look at this field name list.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the ones that you want to drag. See, if you want to take it away, all you got to do is just drag it out. Watch now, the buyers will disappear. Okay, so now we only have the categories.
Wait, sorry, I wasn't following. Are you dragging from field name down to
Yes,
rows?
exactly. Yeah. See where buyer is here now? If you're looking at my screen. So
Yeah.
click on that buyer and drag that down to rows, and then it will populate all the buyers as rows. Good?
I'm gonna see now. Okay, it works. And what was the
Good.
second step?
Yeah. The second step
Item.
was to do the same thing with item category, but not the same thing, drag it to columns.
Okay.
Okay, so then we have the
Got it.
columns here for that. And then the last step of this is today, populate it now with some kind of value. And the value we want, it could be one of these like surcharge, price, quantity. We're going to use total, and we're going to drag that to the values. Okay, and watch what happens now. It's going to pull in all of the values here, right? So remember, that was from the sales list, and buyer one purchased $157.50 in collectibles, $70.72 in home decor, and $509.60 in technology. Just ask your question. You can open your mic and ask.
Hi, Professor. So when I was trying to drag the buyer into rows, rows doesn't show up for me. It shows as axis, and then in parentheses it says categories, and then columns is also not there as well.
That doesn't sound good. Are you using Excel on the Mac?
Yes.
You are. And you use the insert pivot table? Okay. Can you see this pivot table analyze?
Yes.
Okay, when you do that, if you go to show, this is called the field list. So make sure that you click on that if you don't see the field list, and you should see this.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
labeled as something else. It says for columns, legend, and then in parentheses it says series.
okay. So it seems that you're making a pivot chart then. That's why it says legend, because you're making a chart and not a table. See this pivot chart here? Did you possibly choose something different? Is it yeah, it doesn't seem like you would have, right? This is Jennifer, right?
No,
Guinevere.
Guinevere.
I'm sorry, Guinevere. So it's a little difficult for me to figure out exactly what's going on, Gwen. If you could bear with it, just observe for now. You think you can do that?
Oh,
And
I
then
got it.
You got it. Great. Could you tell us why? How you got it?
Oh,
What
because
happened?
you said it was chart that I pressed, so I found pivot table and I pressed it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So
I didn't realize
usually
different
the chart could, the chart is the visual, and they're going to come later though. You'll see. You'll be able to integrate that in there. Okay, so now we've got this happening, right? So we've got our item category, our buyers, and our totals there. So the next thing that they're asking you to do is to change the field value setting, which is this. Okay. So basically what's happening here is like you can rename this too if you wanted to in this area, but you can also click on this and sum of total, for instance, you could change it to any of these other statistical functions. So right now it's sum. If you wanted to, you could see the average. If you just click on average, then you'll see, don't do this, I'm just showing you. See, now it changes to the averages. See, obviously here 468 is the only one, so that stayed the same. But here 157, 770, and 500 averages out to about 245. Get it? So you don't have to have the same parameter. Let's go back because we really want some. Just wanted to show you that. But what we want to do now is change the number format, because you can see, well, the number format isn't bad, but we have like weird things going on here. We want to know that this is like accounting or currency probably. So if you click on this, and you can also do it over here with the little I, basically the same thing, right? So you can see number is here, and now they're asking for accounting 0 decimal places. Okay, so just to kind of, again, a lot of times you're not worried about the change, so you just want to get the big thing, and then when you're presenting a lot of numbers, it might be simpler to ingest and digest if it only has, the dollar amounts. Good. So that's step 2. Everybody happy with step 2? Step 3 is really simple. We're just going to go design, and the idea is we want light green pivot style medium 11. And that's a mouthful for, I think, medium 11 is this guy. Yeah, okay? So just to make it look like the other ones, so everything seems professionally uniform and consistent, right? And then the next thing is to hide the field headers. So we're talking about this here. This is really what they mean by the field headers, not these guys, but this sum of total and column labels. And we can hide that over, please remember where this is here, field headers. So it's still back here. So here in the show hide, right? Field headers, bingo. Okay, so those things just kind of show and go here. These also have neat kind of sort, and filter things that you can use later on. You can also do it here if you want to filter. Okay, so let's just follow directions for now. We hide the headers. And that's step 3. Step 4, return to the sales worksheet. Okay, we're back here at the big one. And she wants to display the total sales by sales type. So we're going to create another pivot table here. Okay, so again, just make sure you're in the data table and insert another blank pivot table on a new worksheet. Okay, sales on a new worksheet, and here it is, sheet 3. And this time we're going to name this one totals by type pivot. Okay, so right click on the sheet, rename totals by type pivot. Okay, hit enter. We've got our new sheet there. And in this one, what we're going to do is add the sales to the rows area. Okay, so sales type, which is this, to rows. And so there it is. Okay, so the sales types was either auction, direct, offer, or special. And you can see that they've been added to the rows. And then we're going to add the total field to the value. So we're not even going to add anything to columns in this one. You don't have to. Okay, so there's our totals. Okay, so this much from auction, direct, we have our totals there. Can make it a little larger maybe, just so you can see it a little bit better, what's going on. Okay, good. And now we're going to change again to accounting with 2 decimals. You can see this one weirdly has 3 decimals, 1 decimal. So remember how to do that. You can do it either here or you can do it here. So I'm going to do it here. Okay, go to number and accounting, 2 decimals, $, okay. Okay, so now we're in business. We've got our $.
Can you show that again? Sorry.
Sure, absolutely. So let's undo it.
Like light gray for me, when it's
if it's light gray. Well, this one up here is light gray. Why is it light gray? I think I just have to click on this. Yeah, because it's the the sum of total is the field that we want, and it was over here too. Because remember, you can do it with the little information button here, or you can do it here, but you have to make sure you tell it, which one you want to do. This one is labels. See, so I really couldn't format it as accounting, but now we can do it here. Okay, so we're going to go to number, accounting, and we want 2 decimal places with a $, and say okay, and there you've got your commas after 1,000, your decimal place, your $, everything looks like it's copacetic. Okay, so wow, we're moving right along here. We're already up to step 5. So now Christine decides that a chart would help analyze the sales data. So on the totals by pivot, which is this worksheet, we're going to insert a stacked column pivot chart. So don't be confused. You don't have to go here to do that. I originally thought you did have to go here, but after I started doing this for a while, I realized it's the same thing. As long as you just insert a chart, it will be a pivot chart because it's related to a pivot table. So go to the insert chart, and what happens if you just go to the other one I was showing you, it just gives you a basic column chart. Here you can pick anything you want. So we want the stacked, which is this guy. Okay, so there it is. And then they give you all kinds of weird measurements to bring it into place. Make sure you follow that. I saw a couple of people got marked wrong. It'll say something like, make sure the left right corner is in A9. I don't want to do that because it's going to be just too small. I want you guys to see it a little better. So instead of, following their directions here, but, you should follow the directions.
Oh, sorry. Do you have to grab the table before?
The
'Cause
chart,
mine's
if you
blank.
want to resize it, just grab the edges here. See that?
Oh no, I mean the chart that I got is completely blank. So do I have to select the numbers before?
Let's do it again. I'm going to
Okay.
delete my chart. Make sure that you are in, again, you have to have your cursor in one of these cells, or else that's why your chart is blank probably. If you were out here and you made a chart, it's going to give you a blank chart. So make sure you're actually in the pivot table like that. Okay, so then go insert.
Okay, that works. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to be in the active data or else it doesn't know what to chart. Okay, so there we go. We got our stacked column chart. You notice a stacked column chart means that you basically, instead of getting 2 bars, you'll get a different color for the next category. There's only one category here though. Even though it's a stacked chart, it's not stacked yet. But they're going to give you another direction to stack it. Okay, everybody happy so far? So resize and position. I'm not going to do that just so you can see it better. So now we're already up to step 6. It's amazing how fast we're going here. So the website provides a 3% of their sales as a commission. Okay, well, they consider a service charge, not a commission, service charge. So add service charge data to the pivot chart as follows. So we're going to add a calculated field here. Okay, so again, with the chart selected, you'll notice now we have the pivot chart analyze, or the PCA, as I call it, design and format. We even get another one here. So there are different ways for it to kind of look, because it's a chart. But we want to go here, and what we're going to do is go to calculations, and this is basically to add a formula based on the data that's woven in, especially in the sales one. Okay, so the calculated field we're going to add is going to be called service charge. Type that in. And the service charge is based on some math of the other fields, right? So here's all the other fields. And basically they said it's 3% of the total. That's the service charge. So you click on total and insert that field. So you're building a formula, right? And how do we tell it we want 3%? We're going to multiply. Okay, multiply by 0.3, I think it is, right? Hang on one second, let me just make sure I'm doing this right. 0.03. Okay, because 0.3 would be 30%. Right, so does everybody understand that now? So we're going to basically be adding a calculated field, and because they're related, it'll go in both. Okay, so here it is, service charge, and you'll notice that this is about 3%. Right? It makes sense, because 1,000, right, would be 30. So it's a little more than 1,000. It's 35. And you'll notice here now we've got the stack going on. Right? So there's the service charge. It's a little bit of each one. In fact, it's 3%. Everybody happy with that?
Mine isn't stacked like that. How do I change it to look like that?
Okay, good question. How do you change it? So if you have the chart selected like mine is, and you go to design, I believe, you can then go to change chart type. See that?
Yeah.
Change chart type, and then go to column, and the second one is the stacked.
Okay.
Try that.
Got it.
Got it? You got the greens on top?
Yeah, thanks.
Great. You're stacked. Okay, so now the next thing, let's see where we are here. Sorry, I just lost my place for a second. Yeah, we're good. We're good. And we're actually on the next page, number 7. So go to the items worksheet. So I told you there's a lot of stuff going on here. And the thing about this is that they're all related. So everything really goes back to the sales table. And if you make changes in that sales table and refresh, all these other ones should reflect those changes. And that's the power, again, of something like this. And a lot of times in an organization, you have different people working on different ones, and they're all connected in the network. So obviously you're seeing other people's, kind of network changes. Okay, so in the items worksheet, which contains a pivot table named items, modify the items pivot table so that it's easier to interpret. Okay, so now sometimes you don't see the other field list over here. Let's see what happens if I just click on this. Sometimes it'll appear. There you go. And remember, if it doesn't appear, just click on the PTA and show field list. Okay, that's how it makes it come back and forth. Okay, so you can see on this one, we've got the stacking going on here, right? So in rows, you'll notice we have the category, the buyer, and the sales type. So look, category, that's the hierarchy, right? That's the header. And then we have the buyer in the second level, and then the sales type, how they bought something there. And remember, you could change this. I may want to see the sales type first. Okay, so you can just drag these. It's not going as easy, but watch what happens there. See, now the sales type went second, and we have the category, the sales type, and the buyers at the bottom. Anyway, let's undo that. That's the way it was originally, right? So does that make sense to everybody? And again, the same thing is happening here. We have the average quantity, the sum of shipping, and the average total. And you can see they're named over here, right? All right, so the first thing I want to do, this might be a little complicated, so just remove the buyer. Watch how nice this is. When I pull this out of here, it takes the buyer out, and now it just gives me the hierarchy of two levels, the category and the sales type. See, so it simplifies things. The data is still there, obviously, and I can easily put it back in if I want to pivot that way, but right now we're not going to do that. Okay, so we just drag it out to get rid of it. So now we're going to change the report layout to compact form. So if this is in design, and I think compact actually is the default layout, so it's a little weird. So here it is, compact, outline, or tabular. Let's see if it changes. Yeah, it changed a little bit, right? So it does, kind of compact it a little bit. So that's the report layout. You can also deal with the subtotals and the grand total here. So you'll notice we have a grand total. In this case, we're going to turn that off. So pull that down, off for rows and columns. So that says goodbye, right? That last row. Instead, though, we want a subtotal for each one of these categories. So it says show subtotals at the bottom of the group. Here's our subtotals. And bottom or top, take your choice. That is bottom. Okay, so the bottom of each group, then we get a subtotal. And there it is here. Entertainment total, right? Sporting goods total. Make sense to everybody? All right, so that is number 7.
What about the
Now,
compact form part? It says,
say it one more time.
it says change the report layout to compact form.
That's here. Okay, report layout
Oh.
and show in compact form. Here's outline. Okay, just like a slightly different look to each one. Tabular and then compact. It's all about the packaging. It's just the same data. I guess if you have a really, large, a lot of times you might have categories that go right across the screen. So if you, shrink it down, you can see more of them at once. Kind of puts it on a diet. Okay, so we're up to number 8. So Christine wants to display the average shipping for each sales rather than the sum of shipping. Okay, so see, she has the sum of shipping here. You can see it's the sum of shipping. So she wants to display the average shipping. Okay, so it says change the field value settings for the sum of shipping to determine the average. Okay, so what we can do is if you click on this, sum of shipping, right? You can actually change the name here to average, but obviously to change the math, we've got to go here and change it to average. Okay, so we're going to change that. Now it actually changes it for us, right? It says average of shipping. And then you can actually modify this, and they want it to just be average shipping. So just get rid of the of, hit enter, and you'll see it'll update the name here. You can even do it here. I tried it. It works if you can do it here too. Good? Is there a question?
Yeah, when I went to the active field, for me it says average quantity. Should I be clicked on the sum of shipping?
Yeah, exactly. Click on that header, and it should know that you want to do that one then.
And then, I'm sorry, what did you do after that? I just got a little lost.
No problem. Once you have the average of shipping selected, click on the field settings button, and then there you can pick the different calculations. So remember, the default typically for values is sum. So you want to just change it to average. Okay? And obviously, if you look here, these numbers would confuse anybody, right? These huge decimal places. So they're asking you to apply the percentage with one decimal place, and that's going to be here, number, percentage, decimal places, 1. Okay, and watch how much more manageable this will be once we put that in. Makes more sense, right? So again, it's ingest and digest. The same information, but just, presented in a much more kind of readable fashion so people can understand what's going on here.
Professor,
Okay.
for some reason, the totals for like each row of like entertainment, home decor, sporting goods, like the bolded ones didn't become the average for mine.
Okay, it's a little more difficult for me to figure out what's going on with that. They didn't become the average. So can you describe what you're seeing over here? As far as, under average shipping, are you seeing numbers,
Yeah, like all
percentages?
the numbers are there except the ones that are bolded for you. So like the 0.8, I don't see the 4.8, the 3.5, the 3.6, 4.8, etc.
Okay. So those are the subtotals, I think. So maybe you didn't do that in the step before. Try this. Go back to the design and then go to subtotals and pick the one that says show all subtotals at bottom of group. If you click that one, it should be the same. Did that work?
I'd already done that step, but I mean,
Yeah.
I redid it because you told me to redo it, but it's still not coming back. It's the summarize by or show data as average in the field settings.
Okay. I'm just trying to see if we can,
Wait,
backtrack.
now,
Did it work?
no, look, now for yours, it's not there. The numbers for the collectibles and the technology. Do you see what I'm saying? Like you're missing numbers now.
Yeah, it's just a matter of the way it shows, I guess.
I don't
Now they're there, right?
have the collectible total either.
But he has them now. Do you see?
Yeah, I just took a step back. Something that I did, kind of changed it. It's a little difficult to figure it out, and everybody's, unless we take the time to, have you share your screen and kind of go, backwards each step. Anyway, a lot of these are not really totally mutually exclusive. If you can bear with it, I think you'll be okay, and you might have to just, run through it again. Is that going to be okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I can go over the whole thing again if you want, but why don't we go through it once, and then we can do it again afterwards.
Yeah, I
Does
mean,
that make sense?
I'm just missing some of the numbers, but it's fine.
Yeah, I think everything will still be okay calculation wise. Remember, you're never really missing anything. It's just more or less the way it kind of displays it. So everything is there math wise. Let's see if we can do the next step and see what happens. So we did the percentage, right? We got the percentage there, and now we're up to step 9. So step 9 is to refresh the data source. And, particularly, I think I remember the new one we typed was technology and auction, right? So, that was the new data. So those are the ones that should change here. This subtotal should change. And I guess the auction one should change under technology when we refresh. So how do you refresh? You go to the PTA again over here, and here's the refresh button. Okay, you can pull it down. You can see refresh or refresh oil. I think in this case, it'll work for either one. So watch the technology numbers, and let's see what happens. Yep, see them change? So that was the new, remember in the sales one, we added at the bottom an auction technology for $95. So that change was reflected there. Does that make sense to everybody? And it should actually have refreshed everything, you know, in all the sheets, anywhere that one was displayed. Okay, so we got that. Now Christine wants to change the format of average of total values, which is difficult to interpret. So obviously here again, we've got 3 decimal places and the average of total values. So modify the total values by applying currency. So again, just make sure you click on this guy. You'll see when I click on these, see how this changes. So here's average quantity. So this time we want average total values. We're going to click on the field settings. And what do we want to do? We want to change it to currency, 2 decimal places. Okay, so currency. Here we have 3 decimal places, 2 decimal places. Say OK. And again, a lot more kind of interpretable at that level. Good?
Wait, sorry, that was a little fast. You said 3 decimal places? No.
No, the original was 3 decimal places.
Oh, so
it had
2?
3 decimal places. So you want to change it. The direction is to change it, the average of total, go to field settings and change the number setting to currency, decimal places 2, and then say OK twice. And you should have just a normal, 2 decimal places.
Got it. Thanks.
Got it? Good. Okay, we're up to number 11. Go to monthly sales. And so here we have a pivot table. And again, it's a good idea to kind of understand what is going on with this pivot table. So it's called monthly sales. And Christine wants to provide another way to visualize this data. Okay, so let's just kind of see what's going on. We have the months, and then we have the methods again over here, how they bought stuff. Okay, so you can see the grand totals are there on both sides, and then we have a total of 73 for all the months and all the methods of distribution. Excuse me. So
does it matter? My grand total is 72.
That's weird. Well, you know what? Did you refresh?
No, I actually.
That's why yours is 72, because you didn't refresh that one that we added as the first step. We added another auction. Remember that? We added an auction value for August. So if you refresh it, it should go to 73.
How do I do that? I'm sorry, I missed it because I was trying to fix the other thing that happened.
No worries. Don't be sorry. So what you do is just make sure that it's active by clicking in it. Go to Pivot Table Analyze, and here's the refresh button in the data group. You can just click on it. If you pull down, refresh will do it for you. And it should change it then to 73. Worked?
Yeah, it did, thanks.
Okay. So again, a clustered column chart based on the monthly sales pivot table. So again, make sure you're in the table and insert chart. So again, if you just insert a pivot chart, for some reason, it just does some kind of default chart, and there's no reason to do that insert pivot chart. It is a pivot chart no matter what you do. So which one do we want here? A clustered column, that's the first choice. Actually, that is the one I think it will insert by default. Okay, and again, there's a lot of moving around here and resizing that the book wants you to do. I'm not going to do that right now, just so we can see this a little bit better. Obviously, this is very confusing already. But if you look at all these numbers, it makes sense that this is confusing, right? Because basically, each one of these data points is represented by a data marker here. And that's a lot going on, right? So I usually say if you're going to have a chart like this, 10 bars or 10 markers is probably the limit. And then you want to start filtering, because if somebody looks at this, they're going to be lost. So we're going to see how to filter it, actually. So move and resize it. I'm not doing that, but you should. Add the title sales per month. So who can tell me how to do that? Add the title sales per month. Remember, if the chart is selected, you can see, it's always going to be in those extra things there. So under design, here is add chart elements. And one of the elements is the title. Okay, so chart title. Right now we don't have a title. I think we're going to put it above. And what do they want? Sales per month. Type it just the way they do, just in case, just in case you want to make sure that you keep everybody happy. Sales per month, and we can get rid of this part of it. We don't need that. What happened? I lost everything. Let's just do the whole thing again. Okay, so click on it, and then I'm going to go to Insert, a clustered column chart. What happened? I don't know what happened. I didn't see it. Clustered column. I don't know why it's not displaying it there. Hang on a second. Make sure I'm in the right place here. If it's putting it somewhere else or whatever is happening. Let me just see if I can get back to it. Okay, so I'm in the chart. I'm in the table, I mean. Now we're going to go to Insert. I don't know why it won't do that. Make sure everything is copacetic here. I must have done something strange somewhere. Let's try it one more time. Oh no. Where it went. Just trying to think of it if it's hidden somewhere, but it doesn't seem to be somewhere else. Let me try it again from scratch here. So monthly sales. Create a custom column. Custom. Just trying to think if it's putting it on another sheet. Something weird is obviously going on. Just bear with me for a second. Hopefully I'll get it to work. It's funny because it seems like the simplest thing to do. I don't want to start from scratch because I'm going to lose, I think I'm going to lose a fair amount of what we did, and some of it, relates to. I don't know what happened. Not sure. I'm just going to have to start it again, I guess, because somehow I corrupted something here. I'm not sure what I did, but I don't want to troubleshoot it in front of you guys. So I'm just going to close out of it. This may give us a little bit of issue later, only because now I have to kind of redo everything from that point. Let's see how we do. So I'm going to try to do this step again and see if it works this time. So monthly sales. I mean, it's still the same. I got the 72 now, right? But I think we can live with it. It's just not refreshed. So let's see if this works now. There we go. I don't know why it was doing that. Something weird was going on. So whatever happened when I was trying to kind of reconfigure something, it just went kind of haywire. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you. Okay, so we wanted to add the chart title, right? So that was under design, add chart element, chart title, above. Okay, and then the title that we want for this one is sales per month. Okay, so I think we're back in business. We got the sales per month, and then we want layout. Yes.
Which tab did you go to get the cluster chart? I mean graph.
Okay, I went to insert, and then to charts, and the first one in 2D is the clustered column.
Thank you.
Good. So now we want layout 2. But remember, if I changed any of this data, it would reflect obviously in the chart because they are dynamically related to each other. Just point that out. I don't want to do anything to demonstrate anymore because I'm afraid it may weird out again. So we're going to do layout 2, and again, that's under design, quick layout here, right? And you've got these quick layouts. This is number 2, which shows the legend at the top. It looks like what's going to happen. Good. Yeah. So there's the legend at the top. And it shows you all these. We also have what are called data labels here. So you can see instead of having to interpolate, oh, is this a 2 or a 3? They all just have exactly what they are. So the big one was August with 7. Here it is, right? Make sense to everybody? So it's obviously a little confusing. And here's the magic now. You can add something called a slicer. And we can slice and dice. And kind of look at this in different ways. So let's look at that. So the command here is number 12, add a slicer to the pivot chart to make it easier to filter the data. So the pivot chart slicer is going to be under PTA, pivot chart analyze. Okay, so here's insert slicer, and we can slice based on any of the headings. Okay, in this case, we're going to slice based on sales type. So click that guy and you get a actual visual kind of button thing. So just kind of move out of the way here. This can also be resized. I think in one of them, they make you fancily resize and kind of, position the buttons and all this stuff. But the idea here is if I click on auction, I'll only see the auction ones. Okay, if I click on direct, I'll only see the direct ones, right? And as you notice, the table and the chart are obeying these buttons on the slicer. Okay, if you hold down the command key, you can see multiple ones. So now we're seeing auction and special, right? Auction and special, auction and special. Okay, so that's how that works, the slicer. Very, very convenient tool, especially when you have something like this that, on first glance seems like, very confusing all over the place. And you can say to yourself, well, let's just take a look at our, sales by auction. Click on auction and you can see exactly what's going on every month. In February, you made 2 auction sales. So very, very clean and clear. Okay, so let's see what it is. I just want to make sure I'm doing it the same way here. Position the slicer. So Christine thinks the August auction seems high. Yeah, she's got that 7, right? So what she wants to do is something called drill down. And what drill down does is it opens up a separate worksheet and it gives you the information for this 7, where the 7 came from. Okay, so the way to do that is to double click on the Mac. Okay, so we're just going to go here to that 7. Watch what happens now when I double click on this. Okay, it makes a new sheet, and that new sheet is just August auction. And it's going to show us exactly how we got to that 7. It's going to make this bigger. So here it is, right? There was 2 and 5, and 2 plus 5 equals 7. Okay, so that's how that's called drill down. So you double click on
it again whenever.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
So let's go back. Okay, so the idea is we want to figure out how we got to the 7 here. So what Excel is going to do for us when we double click on this is create a new sheet that's going to show us the items that are involved in this calculation. Okay, so when we double click on it, we get a new sheet here, and you can see that in August, you can see the dates here if I just blow this up. See, these 2 dates are in August, and the quantity is 2 and 5, which equals 7. So those 2 are the ones that went into making that, and they want you to rename the sheet tab again to Aug Auctions. Okay, so control click on it, rename, AUG, oops, sorry. Okay, so we got that. Okay, we're almost done. So that's the drill down technique.
Professor,
Yes.
how are you able to display the date? Because for me, it's still showing as the little
Hashtags?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you just go in the division between D and E, see, there's my hashtags again. Hashtags just tell you that it doesn't fit. But I mean, the data is there. It'll still do the math with the date and everything. So what I do is I just hover over the column border and double click. That's called auto fit. You can also just drag it, obviously, but then you could make it too big. So by double clicking, it makes it fit the largest entry. Okay, so that basically everything just fits nice and tightly then when you double click auto fit.
Professor,
Yes.
are these 2 sheets linked, or can I click out of auction and go back to how the
You want to
chart is?
name this sheet August auction, right? So, actually, yeah, make sure you name it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Oh, I mean
you.
on the monthly sales sheet, like I see that they wanted, the original way how we had it before we clicked on auction. So can you just deselect it, or?
You mean this guy, the slicer?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me just see what she says here about this one. Yeah, I think it should be fine, actually. I think, if I remember correctly, you're going to have them all selected. See, the filter is here. Once you select one of them, it tells you that it's being filtered. If you just clear the filter, I think that's the way the original one was.
Okay.
I could verify it at the end for you too, to make
Okay.
sure that, yeah.
I was just thinking if they're synced somehow, but they're not, right? Like all the auctions and monthly sales sheets.
Yeah, they are synchronized. Absolutely.
They are?
Everything. Yeah, I think they're all synchronized. They're all locked together in some way. When you make changes to one, they ripple through all of them. Because remember, everything is based on the original sales sheet here. This sheet actually has all the data. Everything that we're doing in every one of these other ones is really it's coming from this. That's because this is the data table. Good. So now we're up to number 14. Go to the sales type pivot worksheet. Sales type, I think it's called sales types. No, I'm sorry, sales type pivot chart. It's this one. Okay, that's where we're up. So this one only shows March. Okay, so this is only March. How do you know it's only showing March? Well, there's a filter here for date. So that's why it's got to be, filtering the dates for just March. It could be clearer, actually. This is the way they set it up. You could name it or something like that. So anyway, the idea is that if you want, she wants to show all the months now, not just March. So the easiest way to do that would just be to remove this filter. So just take the date and drag it out of the filter box. And there you go. Then you have all of the months there. Okay, everything should be showing. Remove the date field. We did that. Refresh the pivot chart. So again, this is the idea that I got to go back to sales and type in that extra one that they tell you in the beginning. So if you do that, when you click refresh, see, I'm not seeing any change now because remember, I have the 72 one. But if you go back here and add that extra entry, you'll see it. If you want to bear with me, I can do it real quick again. You'll see how it works. So it was buyer B111. It was auction 3701. Technology. Sorry, the date was 12/9. Sorry, 2021. Technology. One item for $95, 3%. Okay, so now let's go back to that chart, and you'll see when I refresh it, watch it, it'll be a subtle change, obviously, because it's only one item, but watch what happens. See it? Well, actually, it changed it more than I thought. So the refresh actually did work there. And, you know, obviously, that's just refreshing this, but if we refresh all, where's the other one that has that 72? Here it is, 72, right? So see, it didn't refresh this one. So, but the best thing to do, I guess, in this case is use refresh all. See, now we got the 73. Everybody happy? So we're ready to move on to the next item here. I just want to make sure I know where we are. We're on the last page. I know I'm happy. I bet you are too. Okay, so we're looking at the pivot sales chart. We removed the filter for date, I refreshed it, and then apply style 14. So that would be under design. Here's the chart styles. Actually, it's a quick layout. No, it's got to be one of these. 14, I think is the last one. Yeah. Okay, didn't change it much, but looks a little bit clearer. Go to the final prices worksheet. Okay, here we are, final prices. And you can see we've got a slicer built in here already. Christine wants the pivot table to focus on buyers, not dates. Okay, so you don't see the field header list, but remember, if you click in there, you should see it appear. If you still don't see it appear, you can go to PTA and then show field list. Okay, so here in the rows, you can see we've got the date above the buyer, but she wants to focus on the buyer. So it's just a matter of dragging the date down. Okay, so now the buyer is first. You can see the buyers are first, and now the date is the sub to that. Okay, so just reorder. Anytime you have multiple ones in the box, you can reorder them. Christine is interested in the performance of direct sales during the months of April and September. Filter the pivot table as follows to show what she requests. Okay, so hide the pivot table field list so you can work. So you're going to hide the field list. Okay, so again, we just click here to hide it. And we're going to work with the slicer. Okay. Add a, actually, what is it? Use the sales slicer to filter the pivot table to display direct sales only. So bingo. Okay, so now we only have direct sales. With that. And now we're going to add another slicer. Add another slicer based on the date field. Okay, so insert slicer. Dates. Okay, so here's our second slicer. And again, now that we're looking at just direct, we can see just direct for January or just direct for March. And how do you know? You get the little filter thing, and here it is, March. And you can also select multiple ones with the control key or the command key. I'm sorry, command key is on the Mac. So she wants to display April and September. Okay, so what we want to do then is make sure April is there. Hold down the command key on the Mac and click September, and now we have both April and September for direct sales. Good? So two slicers working together here to do that one. We're already up to number 17, only 2 more steps. Go to the price analysis worksheet. Okay. For each item, category, and buyer, Christine wants to compare the average unit price with the total unit price, starting with the buyers that have the most sales in each category. So we're going to do a sort. She also wants to display the price data by month. Okay, so it sounds like a mouthful, but step by step, it's not that complicated. So the first thing you want to do is sort the pivot table based on the sum of quantity field, sorting from largest to smallest. So here is our sort command. and we can sort by sum of quantity, right? So pick that one. And she wants to go from largest to smallest, so that would obviously be descending. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Looks good.
Professor, in the step
Yes.
before this one for the final prices, you said to click command and for April and September, but for me it actually does the opposite. When I click command, it selects all of them, and then when I just try to like click April and September, it like takes them out rather than adds them.
Okay, you see my screen, right? Try this technique. So we have April and September here, right? Watch what happens. We clear the field, clear the filter out of there. They all come back. Then click the filter button. Let's see. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, clear the filter, right? Click on April. Then hold down, using a Mac, right?
Yes.
Hold down the command key.
While clicking?
Yeah, keep your finger down on the command key and then click September. So now you should have both of them selected like that.
Okay, yeah, that worked. Thank you.
Good. Okay, so now we're back to the price analysis sheet. We sorted it already. And now we're going to add the unit price field to the bottom of the values area. So we need to see our field lists again. So again, click on this. If it doesn't appear, just go. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. A little finicky. So add the unit price field to the bottom of the values area. So here it is. Okay, values area, unit price. So actually it's there already, right? We're gonna add it there twice. Why do you think we're gonna do that? Actually, this one says
Sorry,
2 right away.
How do you get the pivot field, the pivot table fields to show now again? Sorry.
If you go to the pivot table analyze, then go to the show group field list.
Field. Okay, it's there. Thank you.
Good. So the reason why we're putting this there twice, does anybody have an idea what's going on there?
Maybe they want to put it in like a different format.
Yeah, good. Very good. That's exactly right. So the idea is, like, remember, it's sum by default, but we can have sum and average, right? So I think that's the case here. So let's see what she says here, largest, smallest. Okay, so change the value of the second one to determine the average. Absolutely, right? So we can do it here, or we can do it up here. Let's do it here just so we know exactly that one. Okay, so 2, and then I'm going to change it to average. You okay?
Yeah, it's sum of unit price 2. How do I make
That's
it?
right. That's right. Sum of unit price 2, and I'm clicking on the little information button to display.
I don't have it.
You don't have sum of unit price 2 there?
No, yeah.
Okay, well, this is what you need to do. Just go to the field names and find that one.
I don't have anything that says sum of unit price 2. Oh, am I just
Unit price, I guess.
Oh,
just the one that says
why
unit price.
I
Yeah,
have
because
that.
remember, by default, it sums it. So once you put it in values, it just becomes a sum. So now we're going to click on the second one and change it to average. And they want accounting with 2 decimal places. So go to number, accounting, 2 decimal places, we're in business. Okay, so say okay twice. And now we've got the average. Okay, and you can see if someone only did one thing, the average is the same. But if they did more than one thing, then you can see that there's something else going on there. Okay? So add the date field to the filters area. Okay, so let's grab that. And now we're going to filter by dates. Okay, so that made this come up. See that? So now we're looking at all the dates, but again, we can filter. And in this case, we only want to see May. So here you can just click select all, they all go away, and then you can just select May. Okay? How do you know you got May? Yeah, it's up there, and now you can see just the May data. Everybody happy with that? We're pretty much done. So there's one other item here, and that is to remember, like the lookups, how the lookups worked, where you went, V lookup or H lookup. So there's something similar here, and it's called get pivot data. So it's just going to find data from another area with a formula. Okay, so all you really have to do is just follow directions and this one will come out right. It's just going to extract some data from another formula. So we're going to go to the sales, completed, I'm just going to do on the return to sales worksheet. Okay, so here we are on the sales worksheet. You'll notice that this one for offer is missing. So we just need to dig down and get that data that's going to fill this one in. Okay, so it's almost like one of those lookups. And we're going to use a function called getPivot. So if you just start typing get, there it is, getPivotator. So it has these 4 arguments. So the first one is quantity, is what they want. And you got to put the quotes. If you don't put the quotes, it'll give you an error, a reference error. So quotes, and then type the word quantity. Make sure you spell it correctly. Okay, and then the pivot table that we're looking for is the monthly sales one. Okay, monthly sales. See, it fills it in right away, and we want to make sure we do it. You know what this explanation means? When you see that exclamation point, it means that it's an external reference indicator. So you're doing math from one sheet to the other when you see that exclamation point. And in this case, we're going to start with the first row of the table, which is A5. You should put it in as an absolute value. So I don't click on it. I'm just going to put, $A and $5. Okay, so there it is. It likes that. You can tell it likes it. If you're doing it and you start seeing things like name or reference or value, you know already that it's some kind of, it doesn't read this correctly. It's some kind of error. So you have to be careful. Okay, so the field name in this case is going to be sales type. And again, it's got to be in quotes. I do it just the way they do it with the capitals and stuff, just to not get in any trouble. Okay, sales type. And then the final thing is the item, which is going to be in quotes, offer. Right, so it's going to, look at the offer. Okay, so it should be 7. There it is, 7. Okay, so it just looks in there and kind of extracts that data. And there we go, we got the 7 in there. Good, makes sense to everybody? It was this one, right? Because we're looking at the August sheet. There's the 7, I believe, was coming from there. No, I'm sorry, it's not. It's this one. It's this one. Because it's the offer, right? It's this 7 is the one that I was finding.
Okay. Professor,
Right,
maybe we can look at it again, ask a question. I
yeah,
wasn't able
sure.
to follow.
No worries, no worries. We can go over it again. I mean, I can go over just that step again with you guys if you want to do that one now. So just clear it out of there, right? Clear it out of there, and then it's so you see what's happening, right? It's looking for this data here. So this data just needs to know where it is. It's on the monthly sales sheet. It's the quantity, and then it's the offer, totals. So in order to find that, what we're going to do is go back to our sales worksheet, and then just give it kind of the formula to locate that. And it's going to be get pivot data, okay? And then we need the arguments. The first argument is quantity, in quotes. Second argument is the data table, okay? So it is the monthly sales. And the table starts in A5, and we're going to do that as an absolute value. So it's $A, $5. Okay, and then the next argument is the sales type. And again, it's got to be in quotes. End quotes. And then the last argument is offer. Okay, and once you do all of them, you should see the result. Make sure it's correct. 7, and there it is. Okay, so it's certainly a workout. There's a lot going on. If you follow directions, though, I think it's pretty clear. And if you'll notice when you look at the sheet for the instructions, it actually has what each one of these finished ones should look like.